What's good, y'all? So we are back for Love is Blind Season 3, Episode 2, Love Triangles and Love Triumphs. So the episode opens up with where it left off in Episode 1, where Brennan and Alexa are getting their first look at each other. And they go up to each other, they hug, and I know because you only been talking to this person, you have no idea what they're going to look like or whatever. I know it can be a shock. It could be some awkwardness there. But I don't know if it's just me, and y'all let me know in the comments. Excuse my hair, it's just doing something. It's doing its own thing today. I don't know what this is. It is. I told y'all it's been growing. But it's doing something crazy. But, wow. Sidetrack. I'm trying not to get sidetracked than I am. Anyway. But, whew. Alright. So anyway, as I was saying, I know there's some awkwardness there because y'all don't know each other and y'all just meet and y'all have agreed to marry one another. But they hugged first, then he kissed her. And you get to me, it looked as if when he kissed her, she wasn't with it, so she stopped it abruptly and then went back to hugging. And then when she sat down with him, they sat on like a little bench and she came out her mouth with "You're so handsome, you look so nice, and you like what you see." He said, "Yeah, he does." And she goes on to say, "Oh my God, we're going to make beautiful kids." But in the way she said it, it was more like she was trying to convince herself that this is going to be okay. More than she was trying to convince him or make him feel like she really is into him. You get what I'm saying? I hope y'all do. Then we see Colleen back out there talking to the girls like, I'm reeling from these last two rejections, because remember she was rejected by Cole and Brennan back to back, and she said that both of them told her they didn't see a future with her because she wasn't deep enough. But I mean, like I said, we don't know all that was filmed and what was left on the cutting room floor, because I don't even know if Brennan had that kind of a conversation with her. I thought he just said that he was into somebody else more so than he was into her, not that she wasn't deep enough or whatever. So, and she lets the other ladies know that there was somebody that she felt like their first conversation, really didn't go anywhere, didn't show any promise, but she gonna go back and give them a chance. And then we see her go in the pod, and across from her is the guy Matt, and she basically let him know that she feeling some kind of way from being rejected or whatever, and she's trying to grow up. She never said that she didn't want to go deeper and have a deeper relationship. It's just she's trying to grow herself up some and see things, process and see things in a different light than what she had before. But she never expressed that. She just said she was looking for something shallow when she was talking to Cole. And now you want to switch up and say, no, I never said I said that I didn't want to go deeper or whatever. But anyway, so that's when Matt brings up the word. He was like, "Well, there goes that V word, vulnerability." And he was saying that, you can't really, you gotta have some vulnerability when you're getting to know somebody and trying to build a relationship, which is true. So let's see where else this episode goes. So Matt goes on to say that he know what it means to be vulnerable and stuff. He tells her he been in a 10-year relationship and they broke up a few years back. Basically, he married his high school sweetheart right out of high school at the age of 18, and they went on to get divorced at age 24. And that taught him that he needs someone who sees the light amongst the dark, meaning that you go through some hard times, life throws things at you, but he wants someone to find a positive in all amongst all the negative, and bring that the light to him and help him to to, to turn the negatives into a positive and continue with life and keep pushing. And he wants to have someone that he can grow old with, and they can still make corny jokes and stuff like that, because which is, to me, sounds like he looking for someone that they can have a friendship and continue a friendship, not just like you gotta have a friendship in your marriage. Y'all gotta be able to be each other's best buddies and crack jokes at whatever's going on around y'all and then continue to live life. Like, you gotta have a sense of humor about things, and that is very true. So she tells him, that's the kind of person she is. She's always lived her life as someone who tries to make positive out of negative, and she's down for that. But to me, I don't know if y'all seen it, but to me, she's coming off as, I'm going to go back to the drawing board and try to appease and be with somebody, like, because I want to make this work. I want to get a relationship out of this. So if I can be pliable and agree and really feel like I'm what this person wants is, and that's the same thing I want, same thing I'm looking for, I can make something out of one of these relationships that I build in these pods and come out here with a husband. That's what it's giving. Oh, and I forgot to mention, she says he sounds like Matthew McConaughey, and he says he likes her cute little voice. He says he likes a woman that's kind of like a little bit feisty and fights with for what she wants and stuff. And she gives him the vibe that that's who she is, and he likes her. He really likes her. Wow. So we see Nancy. Nancy goes into the pause and has a conversation with Andrew once again. Andrew's the Asian guy who does photography and lives life on a whim. Wherever the wind takes him, that's where he goes. So she busts right out with the question of developing a routine once you get married and you have kids. Could you ever see yourself living like a basic routine type of life where you got, a 9 to 5 to take care of yourself, your kids, and your spouse? And he goes into this whole diatribe about how he spent this he picked up and just left, and he went to South Africa. He went some other place I can't think of, and then he ended up in Bali. And Nancy's just over there sitting there thinking to herself like, what? Wait, what? And she comes to the conclusion like, no, he might not be the one for me because I can't see myself living that type of life. Basically, she's looking for someone to get married to and start a family, and she wants stability. She's sounding a lot like me. Real Taurus vibes is what I'm getting from Nancy. But she was also talking to Bartiste, and she was saying she enjoyed her conversations with Bartiste and stuff like that too, right? So then they go into Bartiste, and Bartiste is talking. He's saying, he's mostly connected with Nancy, and Nancy seems like a really nice person. He really, really likes her. He said that he thinks about her. Their conversations have been very, very fun. But he's more into Raven, the Pilates instructor. So we see him going to the pod, and him and Raven having a conversation. And she brings up the fact that would it be a problem if before this whole process, at one point she did used to date an older guy, and he did leave her with some things that she still has around. And she was like, how would you feel about that? And he was like, I mean, that don't really have nothing to do with me, as long as it's not like a house or something, because if I'm starting something with you, a serious relationship with you, I don't want to be moving into a house that this man brought you, and that's always going to be at the forefront of your mind that this man brought you this house. And he was like, and also, we already established I'm younger than you, so I don't have it like that at this point in my life to be buying Rolexes and stuff like that either. I can't wind it down you in that way. And she was just like, oh, that's cool. I get it. Like, it's not that. He didn't buy me a house, so that's not what it is. And he like, all right, cool. And then he goes into this story about his parents. He thought they had the perfect marriage. And, they learned that at some point his mom lived in the Cayman Islands for about 3 years before she met his dad and married him. So one year they goes to the Cayman Islands on a family vacation. And she's taking them to all these different places she used to hang out and be at when she lived there. They go to this place. The singer comes up, grabs her by the hand, and says everybody clear the dance floor, and he wants just her and the two kids, him and his sister, to be on the dance floor. And he starts to sing this song, But he didn't ask my dad to stay up there. And he said, and at some point we realized this man my mom used to be engaged to before she moved to the States and met my dad and married him. And he said, actually, that was the beginning of the end of my parents' relationship and their marriage. And the whole time he's being vulnerable and telling her this, she doing jumping jacks. Now she was walking back and forth like she couldn't keep still when they was talking, the whole time they was talking. But then when he got to be vulnerable and started telling her this girl started doing jumping jacks. He was like, "Are you over there working out?" She was like, "You can hear me?" He was like, "Yeah, I can tell." She was like, "Oh, I was listening basically." And he was like, "Okay, cool." And then we see him in the confessional, like I don't know how I feel about that. Like, dang, I thought we was really tight and really connected, and here I am. I never told that story to anybody. I never let my guard down like that to tell anybody that I'm being vulnerable and you over here doing a workout. Like, what the fuck? And he has tears in his eyes, it looks like, because he feel emotional. He feels some way about that. And I would too. Wow. So SK, the Nigerian guy, we pick back up. He's in the part across from Raven at this point. Raven is still working out. She got the little resistance band. She stretching. She working out. He like. So what do you think, or how do you envision this Nigerian man across from you? So she's. I think you probably dress like this, look like this, got this going on about yourself. And he's like, oh wow. He goes on to tell her he comes from a very large family. He has 17 siblings. And he said, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now where I come from. Polygamy is still a thing. And I grew up in a family where my dad did have many wives. He didn't get into how many actually, but he did let her know. And growing up like that and seeing that gave him the perspective that he wants monogamy and an equal partnership in his person. He's not into the polygamy thing. He wants to be just with one person. It's too much logistically to figure out between all those different personalities and different women. Um, and she was like, "Oh wow," she's taken aback when he starts to talk about this. She stops dead in her tracks, stops the workout, sits down, and actually is listening intently to him, which is a change from the conversation she just had with Bartiste. So he goes on to say that he believes in equal partnership, like, so it doesn't have to be like you're a woman, so this is what a woman's supposed to do. I'm a man, so this is what I'm supposed to do. He doesn't believe in none of that kind of stuff, those gender roles and stuff. He feels like the two individuals supposed to come together, communicate, and decide who's best at this and that and so forth, and they should be equal partners to one another, which is very beautiful. And then he also told her, he's very charming, y'all. He told her, I want to thank you for your graciousness in listening to me, basically listening to my upbringing, where I come from, giving me a chance to say it and let you know where I'm coming from at this point in my life, what I'm looking for or whatever. He was like, so I thank you for your graciousness. And it's the other word he used. Basically, like that you put it out there what exactly you willing to accept and what not to accept is what he was telling her he's thankful for. And that got her teary-eyed. She started to cry. And she told him thank you so much. Like that was something that she needed to hear because she wished she would have started sooner, but she recently started working on herself and growing up and figuring out herself and, you know, hearing him say those things. He basically said that she was very intent, like she's very intentional. That's what he said. Um, but she thanks him for that, for saying that about her. She needed to hear it at that moment. And he was like, I just hope that, one day, I mean, not one day, but I hope that we can continue to talk in these pods and you give me the chance to show you who I am as a person and stuff like that. Like, that you give me the chance to continue to be that person that you just said I was, or whatever. So he put it out there like, I'm into you, girl. Like let's do this. Wow. So Cole and Zanab in the pods, he asked her about, in her work of being a flight attendant, what's one of the best places she went. And I believe she said Thailand. And she talked about the tuk tuks, the little cart, the 3-wheel carts that drive you around. It's like a taxi type thing, and street food and stuff like that, and how busy it is. And he was like, "Oh wow, I can just imagine like traveling with you, going on all these adventures and these trips." And she was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You ever thought about going to Vietnam?" She was like, "Yeah, I love to go to Asia." Like, he was like, "So I'd be like, let's pack up and go, and you would just go." She was like, "I'll pack a bag and we'll just go. I can take you here. We can go here, have dinner here, stay for a night, come right back, and all that kind of stuff like that." So that excites him, and he tells her that he did used to be married at one point. He said he had a girlfriend. He was saying they had been seeing each other for 2 months. They got married, and 4.5 months later, she went and filed for a divorce, and it was all over. But he did learn from that experience, and that experience is what made him realize that he really is ready to be a father and to be a husband and be a good husband to somebody. And she got super quiet, and he was like, you okay?" She like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Would you want something like that?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah." And then that's when they started to discuss age, because they never told each other how old they were. And we find out she's 31 and he's 26. She's 5 years older than him. And he asked her, is the age gap a problem? And she's like, "No, it's not about the age. It's about the maturity level, which you already showing." And he was like, "Okay, cool." And he was like, "Wow, I think I'm falling in love with you." And she was like, "Yeah, I think I'm falling too." So he goes on to say, "Would you like to be my girlfriend?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'll be your girlfriend." And she also mentions that, she has a prayer life and she can't wait to get married because she wants her husband to have that as a foundation. Like, they need to have a spiritual life together, a spiritual bond, and pray with one another, those kinds of things like that. Because I don't know how to different religions, ideologies about our existence and us being here. I don't know how they can work. Now, it can work for some people, because a little bit about some people in my family. My most favorite person in this world is my aunt. She's a Capricorn. Her husband is Muslim, and he's a Taurus. His birthday is actually a week before mine. And she's Christian. And so they have two different beliefs, and they've managed to make it work. They've been married for what, 17, 18 years at this point, and they're still together. And he really loves my auntie. I can tell you, he really loves her. So they make it work. So I'm not saying that people believe in different things can't work, but I know it takes an extra little bit of work to make things work and run smooth when you got two different belief systems. But this looks promising between Cole. He just is giddy. He has a confessional, and he was like, I'm really falling for her. Like, oh my God, I'm really falling for her. So Colleen and Matt have another date, and she's applauded him for being so willing to open up this soon after having gone through a divorce and, breaking up with your high school sweetheart, opening yourself up to this process of being on this show and trying to, staying open for love, even though it was hurt. You've been hurt. And he's just like, yeah, that shit was basically, he said, it was traumatic. He married the person he thought he was going to be with. He trusted her. They was right out of high school. He was like, as soon as they turned 18, they went to the Justice of the Peace, got the marriage license, and got married. And he found out she cheated on him. They were supposed to meet up and talk about it and to see what they was going to do, if they was going to work through it or not. And she called him on the phone, and he said he can hear it in his voice, in her voice, that they wasn't going to work it out because she called to let him know she was pregnant, and she was pregnant by the other guy. And that was the last time he talked to her. I said, fuck. My heart, that pain got my heart, because I know what that's like. Not that the person gets somebody pregnant, but to think that you with this person, y'all gonna be together, and they cheat on you. So Colleen says, like, damn, like, I really applaud you now, but I just couldn't see myself being that person. I don't see myself as a cheater. I've never cheated on anybody, and I just couldn't see myself hurting somebody I loved so much in that kind of way. And he's just like, okay, that's cool that you say that or whatever. And I'm just sitting here thinking, watching and thinking, like, girl, never say never, cause you're super young. Cause Colleen is only 20 something, I believe. Like, you're super young, and Lord willing, you've got a whole lot of life to live, things to see and experience, and you just don't know. You don't know what kind of place you'll be at in the future, emotionally and spiritually, that might lead you to step out on your mate. Like, I'm not saying that because I've been that person, because I've never been that person either. I've never cheated on anybody I was in a relationship with either. But if one thing that divorce taught me, is like, you just don't know. Yeah, you super hurt when somebody cheat on you. But when you get older and you see the ebbs and flows of life, you see how things can become possible. Things can happen, you know? Because when that happened to me, it was a deal breaker for me. Even though I did try to work it out, it was a deal breaker. And after it happened and I got divorced, I still felt like it would be a deal breaker for me. These days, I don't know. I have no idea, because life is funny. You just don't know what's going to freaking happen at all. So we see Raven skipping down the hall to the pods. She gets in the pod. It's money on the floor, fake money. And walks Bartiz to the male side of the pod. And he was like, "Did you see it?" She was like, "This money?" And he was like, "Yeah, I thought it'd be funny. I thought you'd find it funny." Because remember, she said she's a bartender. And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, it's funny." But I don't think she really found it that funny. I think she might have been a little teeny bit offended, to be honest with you. So I'm like, okay. So he was like, okay, well, what are you over there doing? You doing jumping jacks? Cause I really like want to talk to you, tell you where pour my heart out to you, tell you where my heart is. And she was like, oh, actually, I'm just eating some chips or whatever. But and she also mentioned that she's the type to pick that money up and throw it to the dancers or whatever. And he was like, okay, cool. He was like, well, I want to pour my heart to you. And so basically, he tells her that he's more. I was getting nervous when he said, let me pour my heart to you. I said, oh my God, so you went back to to the men's lounge and felt like, yeah, this is the woman, even after that conversation where you were being vulnerable and she was working out. Like, Raven comes off very crass, okay? So he goes on to say, like, basically, he felt like they would look great together because they both into working out and fitness and into their bodies and everything like that. He said, however, I feel a deeper connection with someone else, and I'll just admit it's Nancy. And she was like, oh, okay, wow. And she sits down, and he starts to try to go more into it or whatever, and he getting mixed up. He can't get it out. Words jumbled, and she just said it for him. Well, it's cool because, like, I didn't think it would work between us either. I'm feeling somebody else, and to be honest, I don't think I'm what you need. Like, I can't be that person for you that you need. And that's been kind of like my issue in my relationships, is that I can't, the men tend to love me more than I love them, or care about the relationship and making it work more than I do. That's been a problem with my past relationships. So admittedly, she admitted it. It's given. I'm a man eater. I'm just going through, you know. So they agreed to that this was their last part date, and they both. He wished her success and blessings in whatever relationship she pursues outside of him. And she basically said that she met somebody else in the pause that they give her what she needs emotionally, and she need to not look at looks. And this is giving her a chance to really connect with somebody emotionally. So we'll see, girl. So Bartiz immediately goes to the gentleman's lounge, has a conversation with it's SK and Andrew sitting there. And we know Andrew has been having dates with Nancy. And I'm not sure who said it, but somebody mentioned, have you been working on your spiel or your proposal? Like, what you gonna say? And that's when Bartiz comes out with, well, it's totally crazy that last night about this same time, I was working on that for a totally different girl. And then conversations happened and things flipped. And he goes into how he's really feeling himself fall further and further in love with Nancy. And Andrew is looking like, what? So then we get a confessional of Andrew saying, well, I'm not leaving here without putting my feelings on the line because I fucking love Nancy too. So, man, basically, Andrew is saying, may the best man win because I'm shooting my shot at Nancy too. So, we're going to see where it's going to go. I'm like, ooh, Bartiz, you just put it out there, didn't you, boy? And the whole time, SK just looking like, because he got Raven right now. Also, I meant to say it earlier, but in the cast photos or whatever that I used, well, when I looked up the cast members, in his photo, SK was giving me a little bit of vibes that he might be pan or bisexual or something. He gave me a little, I don't know. He just gave me a vibe in it just from that photo. I don't know. I gotta keep watching. Bartiz excitedly goes back into the pod, and Nancy enters the pod as well. They chat, they decide that they're going to stay true to the premise of the show and not describe themselves physically to one another, that they would see each other and how each other looks when the whole pod process is over. So he tells her he's had some kind of a day that day. He was on a date with someone else, and the whole time he was talking to them in the pods, he was like, I really would fucking rather be with Nancy right now. And he expresses that he really, really wants her. He chooses her. And she says, wow, she's hesitant on saying that she chooses him as well because she has another connection there and she want to see where that goes and then make her decision on which one she would rather be with. And Bautiste is crushed. And he's in his confessional saying that he doesn't know if he made the right decision. So is he going to try to do what one of the guys did last season and try to double back and go to the other girl? Because I know Jared did it. Jared let somebody down. Um, Jared let Ayana down first because he really wanted to be with the curly haired girl. I can't think of her name right now. That was with the guy that he was just on the show because he wanted to get his singing career started because he kept singing all the daggone time. But she ended up choosing that guy, and Ayana was his second choice. And now them two are actually, it was announced that they going ahead and getting a divorce. Now this show, I realized this show was filmed a year and a half to 2 years before it even airs on Netflix. So they've already had some time to be together and stuff like that before we actually get to see how things play out. I also would like to quickly mention I haven't seen none of those black women that we saw in the first episode, this whole episode. Are we gonna see them some more? I know not everybody story makes the cut, but are we gonna see them? Nancy enters the female pods, talks to another young lady there that we haven't seen much of since episode 1, expresses to this young lady that she's stuck. She don't know which way to turn because she's had this list of things that she should have for her um potential spouse. And basically, Bartiz doesn't match up to that list. He's younger than her. So in her mind, because he's younger, he's not going to be ready to have kids when she's ready to have kids. But he's already said that he's ready to have kids, Nancy. So she thinks with his age is going to come some immaturity, especially when it comes to making decisions about having kids. So she's basically looking at Andrew like he's more her age and he's intelligent. She likes the life that he lives and stuff like that. And so she's more interested in leaning toward Andrew, it seems like. Then she goes into the pods. Before she goes into the pod, she tells the young lady that, living by that list or picking men based off of that list that she hasn't worked thus far. So why is she using it still? But she goes into the pods and has a date with Andrew. And at this point, we see that they must have had a silent music party, where you put the earphones and you play your playlist in the other person's earphones and stuff. And it's not just her and Andrew doing this. We see some other people doing it as well. And they dancing and having a good time. And then her and Andrew take their earbuds off and they have a for real conversation about family and, their music choices and how he liked her playlist. And he feels like if it's based on the playlist alone, then they will get along great. And she was like, okay, cool. So she talked about how a whole bunch of people come over and they grew up with a lot of music. And when the family comes over, it's like 50 people coming. And if they play an instrument, each person who brings whatever instrument they play. And they just hanging out, making music and having a good time. So she used that as a way to segue into how do you feel about family living with family? And he says, my parents had that. My grandfather lived like in the back of us and stuff like that. So, he's used to that. So their upbringings match and they have the same ideals about family being around and living with them. I applaud them on that because when I get married, again, even in my first marriage, no family member is coming to live with us. Not like no parents or nothing. My little sister had a room in my apartment, and she was there a lot of times, but not doing that again, especially the parents. Because to me, as a woman, when you allow your parents, your mother or your mother-in-law, mothers kind of like come and want to put their own spin on things. Because that happened to me as well when my mom came to live with me. She wanted to change my place into this should be like this, you should do this and this and that and so forth. Two women can't be the head of the house at the same time. It's just not gonna work. Okay, SK and Raven. With this conversation very mature, she lets him know that she's never been vulnerable enough to do the emotional thing with somebody. And he says, "Well, I appreciate that, and wow, we going heavy right at the beginning." And she was like, "Yeah, I just want to get it off my chest. Like this is the first time that I felt completely what's the word I'm looking for? I would say that she trusts him with her emotions because she allowed him to see her as a vulnerable and emotional woman with feelings. She's not somebody who shows her feelings like that. So he says he appreciates that, and honestly, he wants a complex woman, and he said that he doesn't like a simple, straight to the point kind of person. Like he likes to be able to peel back the layers, basically, of a person. And she was like, "So this is what you're gonna get if you choose to be with somebody like me. Like I will eventually, like, I'm opening up and I'm going deeper. But I'm not going to say that it's all out there right now. I'm going to say that I really like you. I like where things are headed. And I'll get there in my own way. And he was like, yeah, and I appreciate that. That's what I like. I wouldn't want you to be any other way with me, forcing yourself to be something. I want you the way that you are, the way that you see to give it. And that completely tears down her walls, and they are both in the pods, just googly eyed over one another. Yo, Cole, in his way with words, he's into the part with Zenith, and he basically starts out with like from our conversations and stuff like that. I'm just so deep. I said in my mind, I'm saying I know where this is headed. I think he's going to propose at the end of this, but he tells her he knows, he feels like if he's seen her in person, she probably wouldn't be the type of girl that he'd go for. But based on their dates and their conversations, he knows that she's the type of girl he should have been going for based on that alone. And that he feels like they can have kids together, have a great life together. Oh, he says, I know you're my girlfriend at this point, but I want to go straight into, will you just be my wife instead of my girlfriend? And she's like, Cole, I don't know what you look like and I don't care, but I would love to be your wife. So it's Matt and Colleen in the pods. Colleen expresses like, I'm so super nervous over here. I'm feeling emotional and stuff because I'm really starting to kind of like fall for you. But basically, I'm afraid to say it because all the other times that I fell for these guys, they realized after some months that they aren't ready as they thought they were for a serious relationship. So I kind of hold back, and that's probably why she told Cole that she wasn't looking to go that deep because she's so used to being let down by guys when they say they want to be deep, and then a few months down the line, oh, I don't want this anymore, and they leave her. But anyway, she asks, man, is he sure that he really want this? And he was like, I'm 100% sure. Like, I find myself falling in love with you. Like, I look forward to coming in here, talking to you and stuff like that. You're the only person I want to talk to, basically. So they both admit that they fallen in love with each other. And he gets super giddy, and he's talking about how he can see himself having kids, throwing the football. Basically, Matt is out here like, look, bae, soulmate, bae, come save me. Get me out these streets. Save me from these streets, please. That's Matt. Child, SK walking down this hallway telling us that he's going in there to ask Raven to marry him. He giving all the Musiq Soulchild, settle for my love vibes walking down this hall. But he gets in there and he thanks her for her graciousness and all those things that he loves about her. He asks her to head toward the wall and he gets down on one knee and asks her to marry him. And she's on the other side walking away from the wall. I said, girl, you gonna just walk out and not answer this man? Music plays, they give a long dramatic pause. And she says, yeah, she will marry him. Now, looking at SK and looking at Raven, I'm hoping that this is a real connection on her part because I'm not sure if what he's giving facially, physically, like body-wise, he looks fine. But in the face, I'm not sure if he's her type. That's all I'm going to say. Wow. So we get Cole and Zainab's first meet and seeing each other. He runs towards her. She's like, I can't run that fast in these heels or whatever. He like, it's okay. And he runs and he grabs her, picks her up, hugs her, tongues her down. which to me, like, they got instant chemistry. They definitely got a chemical connection there. And they pause and they hold each other's faces, get a good look at one another. And they're just like, oh my God, we look so good together. We both look great, and they happy that each other is what the other one is looking for physically in a person. They might not have said or discussed what they wanted physically. We didn't see that happen on here, but they are both satisfied with how one another looks. And he presents her with the ring, asks if he's putting it on the right finger and everything. She's like, yeah, and they're so super happy. And next thing you know, they're walking away from each other, going back to their pods. And he's like, I'm not going to turn around because I'm watching your butt as you walk away. She was like, okay, I want you to. I was like, oh, wow. So we see that they definitely are feeling each other. And I'm thinking that this definitely might last. It remains to be seen from the because we only in episode 2. They haven't lived together, or anything like that, or met each other's families and all that kind of stuff. Because we don't know what kind of issues that might pose or come from that, or what kind of conflicts might come from that. But they definitely are feeling each other at this moment. Then we get to see Nancy walking down to the pod, and she's basically like, oh my God, like, either I'm about to make the worst decision I ever made in my life, or I'm about to make the best decision I've ever made for my life. It just remains to be seen, but I'm hoping the person I chose is the right person for me. I said I wasn't going to walk out of here with somebody just to have somebody. I wanted to really be okay with this person. I really feel it for this person, and this person feels it for me, and this is the best of the best. So she gets in the pod, and we see her. She like, hello. We hear a male voice, and she like, meow. And he was like, hey, and it's Andrew. He tells her to walk to the wall, and he proposes to her. She accepts. No, he proposes to her, and we don't know. I was too quick to say she accepts. He proposed to her, but we don't know what the hell, because it went off before she could say yay or nay. So I don't know. I haven't started watching episode number 3 yet. So I don't know. So this has been episode 2, Love Triumphs and Love Triangles of Love is Blind season 3. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I've been watching a little bit, stop it, say what I need to say, watch a little bit more, stop it, say what I need to say, to make sure I get it detailed and get the names right and all that kind of stuff, and the details of each relationship right. So this video is definitely longer than the video I did, or the recap I did for episode number 1. And I think from here on out, this is how I'm going to do it, because like I said, I don't want to mess up and say this person is with this person and that person or whatever. So I'll just have to maybe not talk as much on each little part that I pause it on or whatever. But we're getting somewhere, guys. We're getting somewhere. If you like these recaps, make sure you let me know in the comments. And make sure you let me know what your thoughts are for these couples, or who you saw together from based on the first episode. Who did you think was going to hook up that didn't hook up and it didn't work out for whatever? Like, what are your predictions for the show? Also, does anybody know? I don't know if they ever discussed this, but the rings. I know that the show pays for the weddings, but do they pay for the rings too? Somebody let me know in the comments. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one whenever I record it. And don't forget to click the like, subscribe button, and get in the comments and tell me your thoughts. And I'll see y'all in episode number 3. Peace. I almost put up 3 fingers for the episode 3. I'm silly. See y'all.